Hi.
Welcome to the Serenity Podcast. My name is Beth, and I'm Witty Knitting on Ravelry and Instagram.
I am Tracy. I am Phoenix Fire on Ravelry and Phoenix Fire _knits on Instagram. And I think I hit record, so they still hear the 3, but that's okay. We can't have a smooth intro.
This is real life. This is us.
Yep. I was just telling her last week that my husband was editing, and he said, "Hey, that was your best intro ever." I said, "But wait, we're going to talk about how good we did." Yeah.
Now we're just going to talk about this intro and the last intro. And...
Do you remember that intro a month ago? Oh, what have you been up to in the past 2 weeks?
You know, every 2 weeks I'm like, not as much as I thought I had, at least crafty-wise. I don't know, life-wise, it's been pretty quiet. Cold, snow.
We have cold rain. We have a freezing rain right now. I'm so disappointed it's not snow. It was snow last night when I went to bed, and it was so beautiful. And I woke up this morning, and it's freezing rain, and everything's gone. That's the South for you. I did get quite a bit done after our last podcast because I had to quarantine for 3 days before a medical procedure that then the respiratory therapist called the day before and said, "By the way, we're not doing that tomorrow. You'll have to reschedule." Like, wear a mask inside my house for 3 days? I think it might be summer before I reschedule this.
Yeah, no kidding.
But while I was sitting around trying not to interact with my family because my son is the weakest link, he leaves the house, he goes to basketball. I was trying to stay away from him, and I got a lot of knitting done. Got my girls together to Zoom with me to keep me company, but by that point I already knew that wasn't having the procedure anyway. So thanks for showing up.
Oh man.
Oh, and we have sort of matching sweaters again today. Yeah.
You haven't worn yours before on the podcast, have you?
I've not worn mine yet on the podcast. Mine is, let me step a little so you can see some of the colors better. So I've got, let's see, there's 716 knit. I'm blowing out, but it's there. The mint is Unwind Yarn Company. The other pink is also Unwind Yarn Company. I think this is the direction it's going in. No, this pink is Unwind Yarn Company, and this pink is 716 knit. And then the brown is Cozy Colorworks. I think you guys have seen most of these yarns in my Cozy Sunday sweater that I was knitting when we first started recording. Yeah, I brought some of these back for that. So I'm on a kick to use up my scraps this year. Yep, that's my thing.
It's not my thing. As I put my 2 boxes of, I've decided, I've been thinking a lot about this, that whatever I'm working on for knitting, sewing, whatever crafty stuff should be, and this is probably makes sense and probably what everybody else does, but I make up way too many rules for myself. Like whatever I'm working on should be something that I really, really, really enjoy, and it's the only thing that I would want to be working on. Do you know what I mean?
I think so.
Like I do this thing where I'm like, oh, it's this knit along, so I can only do this, this, and this, and I have to do this, this, and this, and I ignore everything else for like 6 months. And then, but I don't stop buying yarn, but my yarn doesn't fit into my rules, so then I can't use it. And then maybe in 5 years I don't like it because my stash is like going on 15 years old. So it's like, yeah, I don't like everything that I have anymore. Anyway.
You've got to film that destash video you were talking about.
You know, I want to, but then I look at everything and I'm just overwhelmed.
That makes sense.
I don't know where, and I don't want it to be a lot of work, so I kind of want to like make it super, I was thinking making it super cheap and being like, hey, here's a bunch of yarn, $10 a skein.
I've done that before. It does, and it goes fast. Okay. It goes very fast when you do that.
because I just want my stash to be only stuff I really, really like and will use, and I don't know. Anyway, this is kind of a weird take.
That's a goal for sure. But you have a de-stash page on Ravelry, right? It's fairly up to date. You did.
I did at one time. I need to put a lot more stuff on there, but nobody really, I think unless you have an audience that you're like, hey, or you have something very specific that people are looking for, nobody really has, I haven't really sold much on my de-stash page. That's what I'm
have to advertise it. Well, she has a de-stash page. I've looked at it because when we do our advent, I used to be really good about looking to see what she had already in her stash, and I would check her stash page. And then also the de-stash, I noticed she had a de-stash tab. I was like, well, I don't want to give her a yarn she's already got and doesn't even want. That never happened. But I have checked that before.
You are putting way too much work into this.
I haven't recently. Sorry. Well, I think up until last year I did that, just to make sure you didn't get a color that you had excess of, because seriously, that would be sad.
It's even seeing it in mini form versus seeing it in full skein form. It's a different experience.
It's true. It's more exciting when it's little. It's so cute.
I've already taken apart 2 projects while we've been sitting here chatting. Well, since we started, not since we started recording.
Yeah, we've talked for a while. I had some negative things I had to not put on the internet.
I really wish you would just put everything on the internet.
Spoken like a true friend. You just put everything out there for your boss to find.
Okay, so I'm also wearing my Comfort Fade cardigan, which you've seen before, and it's all out of Stress Knits yarn. So these are all my colors.
It's gorgeous.
And I love it, and I wear it fairly often. I should have knit probably a bigger size because I don't like, it just seems to like open up all the time, and I want it to kind of be in front of me and not just beside me. So I maybe should have knit a bigger size. I don't know.
My son's awake. He's saying hello through the window.
The weakest link.
Yes, the weakest link is awake. But I've noticed that with mine too, because I thought looking at the sizing it was going to be super huge, but I do find myself like pulling it closed a lot and thinking, should I put a shawl pin here? But no, I don't think I want to do that. But I know what you mean. And it's fun. I love mine too, but it's funny looking at how yours is so cohesive because she bought all the yarns at the same time from the same dyer. And I pulled out 3 that I liked. I'm like, what should I buy to make these go together?
But it works. It's beautiful.
It does work. The brown was the purchase. So I already had everything else in stash because I love the color. I was thinking about this last week when you said that you were buying the worsted because you knew you would knit that up faster. And I went through a phase where I'd heard people say that, why do we have so much fingering weight in our stash? We should get DK or worsted or something we can use for something else more versatile. So I started buying a lot of DK, and I don't knit DK. I actually knit the fingering weight skeins. If I have sock weight skeins, they're in the same color family, they can become a sweater together. They can something. Even if they're not in the same color family, I can put them in a sweater together because that's what I wear, but did not have a lot of need for DK, especially random DKs that they weren't bought with a project in mind. So just a skein and a half of this brown, and now I've got a sweater with all of my pretty yarns that work together.
You can always use your fingering weight yarn held double.
Exactly. I've learned that too.
Which I could do more often.
So I have a small, I'm looking over at my tiny little, I have a tall, skinny yarn cabinet. And I have one shelf on it is DK and worsted. Everything else.
Your stash?
What?
How big is your stash?
Okay, so you can see the fiber. All right, and I'll move my coffee. Don't get sick, everybody. I'm gonna turn you around and you can see.
Field trip.
But there's my kitchen. Yeah, that's my stash.
Oh my gosh.
I think it's on my fancy skeins. And then my self-striping. More fancy skeins. The very top is the stuff I bought that I'm not sure what I'm going to do with. It's my older stuff's on the very top. And fancy self-striping. And I had so much fancy, I had to start another shelf for fancy. And that shop has cashmere in it. Almost a sweater binding. Hands on. I'm going to shut my laptop in a second. So that's stuff this. And the very bottom, that's not worsted. Okay. So who knows what this will look like? Watching myself around. Kitchen again. Fiber stash. It was a fun field trip.
It was.
No one's motion sick.
I feel like you cruise through your projects so fast and your yarn so fast and you never buy anything. And I'm like, how does she do that?
I have a lot from when I go to festivals and stuff, I stock up. So this year, you have not heard me talk a lot about buying stuff, but that's not always my case. Oh, where's my porg? You can see him. Yeah, so not always my reality that I'm not buying yarn. And it always seems to come in. I always seem to have something.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, and that was another, okay, back to the potential destash thing. I thought like, hey, if I destash a bunch of yarn, because I'm not trying to make money, I mostly just want to get rid of it, that I'm thinking the $10 per skein would cover like shipping, and then whatever's left, I can just start this little podcast prize fund, and then I can channel my shopping that I haven't stopped doing into that instead of just adding to my stash that doesn't move very fast. See, I think about a lot. If I knit as much as I thought about knitting and yarn,
maybe you need to loosen your rules for a while. Maybe that would help. Well, I do the same thing. I do the same thing with like, I gotta focus on this knit along, but I don't know.
I don't think I have any rules right now. I think I'm doing pretty well.
Good.
My new rule, well, and what I'm doing right now is I'm taking apart a bunch of projects because they've been sitting around for years, and not like 2 years, like 5, 6, pre-children, and I have 3 children. So I am just taking projects apart and, well, and okay, but that is for a knit along thing. But I'm taking them all apart. And I just feel like that's going to free up some room in my brain of like, I have a basket this big. This big.
Wow.
I don't need a basket that big of things that I'm never going to finish.
But then you get to use all your project bags.
Not in love with any of these ones anymore.
I think my biggest stress is that I don't get to use, I have project bags still in the bags they came in. I have never even used. Either a bag gets used so much that it is so ratty that it looks terrible, or it stays in the bag. And I keep thinking, well, if I don't open it and use it, then somebody else can have it. If I decide I never use this bag, then I can just, it's still in this original wrapping. I can just pass it on to somebody who'll love it. And then sometimes I do. Sometimes I don't. So yeah, I went through that yesterday when I was looking. I'm like, I use the same project bags all the time. I have favorites.
So are you saying I should or should not sew you more project bags?
Well, yours are the ones that get used. I need to stop buying project bags is what I'm saying. So and I have been good about that this year. I've been really good about curbing a lot of my crafty spending. And I haven't bought any clothes because Lord knows I'm not going anywhere. So I've done a lot better this year. We have, we got 2 kids that are almost ready for college. I would like to retire in the next 10 years. So I'm just thinking about that stuff here.
Oh my gosh. You're going to retire in the next 10 years.
Don't say it like that.
And then you can come to my house in the summer for like weeks at a time.
Yeah. You'd be like, okay, stay here with Tracy while I go do all your kids.
They'll be old enough by then to.
That's true.
they'll be like, okay, mom and her weird knitting friend are here.
They're just hanging out in the basement.
Actually, they know your name because any knitting podcast I watch now, they're like, is that Tracy?
I love that. Yeah, they'll be at the age of kids I'm used to.
Yeah.
It's weird when my own kids were small and I was used to teenagers and all of their little kid friends were in the house, and now all their kid friends are the age I'm used to. So I'm cool mom because I talk to them like they're people, because that's what I do at work. So that's nice. I kind of miss them having friends around because right now we're not letting people in our home.
Mm-hmm.
For obvious reasons. Because teenagers smell bad. Just kidding, it's COVID and that.
That's just a bonus that you don't have to have the smellies in your house.
Why do young men reach a certain age and begin to smell like baby goats? I don't understand. Goats and axe. I don't understand.
Ooh, that's an interesting combo.
It's bad. And I work at a rural school where we actually have a barn with animals on campus, and that does not help. And the stuff they drag into my classroom on their boots. That's a story for a different day. But it's definitely something. All right, well, let me show you what I'm knitting to change that subject.
If you must.
Yes, this is many years in the making because, again, I queued it. I'm gonna make this for ZK, and then the designer wasn't in the designer showcase. Like, gonna make that next year for ZK, and it's happening. It's the Just Float pullover. Let's see if you can see the colors. If I move my big head.
We haven't even seen this, have we?
No, it's new.
I love it.
I got so much. I was in a bad spot. The week that I was quarantining, I mostly worked on the color work, but then we had our Zoom knit night and I was at the color work, so I couldn't Zoom and color work. So I had to cast on something new just to get through, just to have some social knitting. So I cast on something new for that. So I was also at the cuff of my sock. I was not in a good place for a Zoom. So I cast on a sweater collar, and the next thing I knew, I was at the short rows on that. So I have no in the round of knitting. What is happening? But I'm finally in the round knitting here. So I had to go to work to get my W-2s and my office chair and some things for second semester. I had to put together some book packets for kids for second semester. So Michael drove me since I needed to get my desk chair, and I can't. When you get to be my age, you really appreciate a good desk chair. I have a lazy
close to
boy.
retirement.
I have a lazy boy desk chair. It is the best. It is so comfortable. I've had a lot of back pain. I was like, I wonder if it's my stupid work chair. It wasn't, but I got a nice chair out of it. But anyway, but it's been there since March. It's been at work since March. And Michael keeps saying, let's go to Hillsboro. Let's get your desk chair. And I'm like, no, because we're going to go back to work soon. I've been saying this since March. We're going back to work soon because we're going back in August. Well, we didn't go back in August, but we're going back in October. Okay, so October comes. Well, we're going back in December, and now it's January, and like we're going back in end of March, early April. And I'm finally at the point where I'm like, that's a long time. I'm gonna get my chair. So I had an hour and a half commute to work back when I used to go in 5 days a week. I used to drive a long time every day. So I got a lot done in the car while we were going to get my desk chair and getting all that stuff done. So I'm really excited about it. Love this sweater. And she said that the yoke isn't supposed to look like anything in particular. It's just, the idea was that there's never more than 5 stitches between, or 6 stitches between the color changes. So there's no huge floats. You have to pick up floats or catch your floats, which is awesome. But it reminds me of anyone who's been to Charleston. They have these really awesome wrought iron fences around the fancy houses on the water. And I loved them. I had the one time we actually went to Charleston, I took a lot of pictures of wrought iron fences, and we found a market, and they were having like a craft fair, and I got some sterling silver earrings that were supposed to look like one of those fences. I should have worn them today, but yeah, I was obsessed with that, and that's what this reminds me of. So I love it. Love it. And I picked up this yarn.
I was gonna say you're gonna be done with that by next time.
maybe, but because I just like, so you said you had all your rules about what you could work on, and it should be something that you are loving to work on. And my rule is I have to have one project at a place where I can just sit and read a book on my tablet and knit in the round. And then I have to have one that I have to think about so that I can do that while I watch podcasts or movies or whatever. Those are my only, I mean, I want us to keep up with my knit-alongs too, obviously, my ZK knit-alongs and that sort of thing. But those are my two big rules. So this has been a lot of sit on the couch, read a book, or stuck in a meeting. We meet a lot now that we are not going into work every day. We'll have 3 faculty meetings a week. I don't understand why. There's nothing to talk about. We had one faculty meeting that lasted an hour and a half explaining how we were going to go back into the building, and then 2 days later we had a faculty meeting about how we're not going back into the building. It was very depressing. It wasted a lot of time, But anyway, got a lot of knitting done too. So my Zoom collar that I cast on, this became, okay, she was telling us a story in this Zoom about how she was obsessed with her crochet temperature blanket. It was the only thing she wanted to work on. That's what this became for a short time until I told myself I had to put it down and work on the colorwork sweater.
Because of made up rules.
Because of made up rules. Look how pretty it is.
Ooh.
All my scrap stuff.
Was that big bag you had that one day?
This is my big bag. I've used up 4 completely. 4 scraps are completely gone. So Malabrigo collar, completely gone. And then, okay, this was completely by accident. So I cast on Malabrigo, did the collar during our knit night, and then realized I couldn't go any further because I had this short row. So that was dumb. Got the short rows done in the Malabrigo in the back. That's all sandbank, Malabrigo sandbank. And then I started on my next one, which was a really small mini, and realized that by the time I was finished blending it in, because I was using helical knitting and kind of fading it. It's going to fade in 3 rows of each and then just knit straight. I realized by the time I was finished blending it in, I was going to be out of yarn. And I like the way it looks so much, I've decided I'm just going to do the helical knitting all the way through. So I'm always holding 2 colors, always striping them. And I like the way it looks on the inside, so I might flip it inside out when I'm done. Like Comfort Fade, isn't that pretty? Blend really nicely. How to decide on that, but it's just a basic raglan. I think I am following a pattern, even though it's a basic raglan. It's called Material Girl. She hers in 1 color. You can't tell because it's black and white anyway, but yep, that's what it is. That is my other work in progress. I'll probably just put this aside and not work on it much until I finish the other sweater, but it was addictive. Just to, what's it going to look like when I change colors? It's going to look like when the other colors changed. And I put that, since it's my favorite, I put that in my favorite bag. I love this bag.
I already forgot about that bag.
Love this bag. You need to make yourself a bag.
I do.
Love this thing. And I liked it so much because I could just carry it around like a giant bucket. I remembered I have another bag similar that I haven't used in like 2 years. So I put my other project in this similar bag that I completely forgot I owned until I was using that bag. So this is a pearl and plum bag. And this is a fun story. It's got lint on it and probably lots of hair. But she went to the Edinburgh Yarn Festival and bought this wool while she was in Edinburgh. And then she sewed up bags and sold them at her shop in, I believe, in the US. And then I bought it and took it back to Edinburgh with me when I went there in 2019 on my school trip. So I've been thinking a lot about travels. It's like, I love this. It's just like a little purse. Isn't that cute? Mm-hmm. I'm glad I rediscovered this bag. I had put it away after that trip and completely forgot I had it. And so I was like, I have a bag similar in shape to this bag. So that's my other work in progress. And it will get love again soon, someday.
I feel like your whole life is themed. Like everything is just connected. I love it.
Oh, you just wait. Wait until, okay, I'll do one more. And then you go and I'll show my last one because my last one's boring. All right, so speaking of ZK and knit-alongs and rules and that sort of thing, The next ZK knit along is only pink or red or both. I don't know how. We don't know the rules yet. We are hoping to figure them out. If not today, then tomorrow we'll get the rules. And I'd read somewhere that as long as you had started it this year and you finish it in February, it counts. So I cast on this morning. So I haven't gotten very far. If I find out that's not true and you have to cast on in February, I have not done enough that I'm going to be worried about ripping it out and start again. I probably actually should do it anyway because I'm 8 stitches short on this project. But I decided I would do a pink hat. And I have this yarn that I bought at Loop London when I was there in 2019. Back in the day. Yeah, 2019. I was like, was it really just 2019? It seems like it wasn't long ago, and it seems like it was a million years ago at the same time. Mm-hmm. But I got this DK from Uncommon Threads at Loop London, and I used it to make a souvenir sweater. So I paired it with some Malabrigo and made an Ingle sweater. I love it. And I had all this pink left. I was going to go into that cardigan, but it's a brighter pink than everything else. So I decided it would be a Violet Waffles hat. So I cast on for the Violet Waffles hat. These hats are always huge on me. So I decided I'd cast on fewer stitches, and then my yarn tail got really, really small. So I ended up casting on even fewer stitches than I thought I would have cast on. I think it was stretched just fine. But again, if I find out I need to rip it out because of rules, no loss, because it's a couple hours of knitting, maybe an hour and a half of knitting, and it might be too small. But speaking of themes, all right, so this was bought in London, and the first day I wasn't sure if I was going to make it to a yarn store because I can't afford to travel. I travel with students, so I travel with if I get enough students to travel with me, it discounts my travel. So that's how I'm able to get to go places. I take kids with me, chaperone, and that sort of thing. So it's fun. I get to see places, but also it's stressful because I get to be in charge, and sometimes you just want to let someone else be in charge when you're traveling. But I did have a free afternoon, and the kids were able to split up and go to different places, and so I was able to get to a yarn store. But the first night we were there, I wasn't sure if I was ever going to get to be on my own for a yarn store. So we were at Covent Garden and looking around, waiting to go out to dinner. And I found this cute little bag in Covent Garden. I was like, I make the cutest notions bag. So I bought that as my souvenir, thinking that might be my only London knitting souvenir. But then ended up at the yarn store, and then on our way to Scotland, we stopped in York, and we toured the York Minster, and they had souvenir project bags. What? Isn't that the cutest? It even came with a pin that says, I heart York Minster. So, yeah, I love a good theme. Got a handle from a Whimsy Stitches bag that worked in my souvenir keychain from London. And there's a lot of travel memories in this bag. Someday I'm going back to York, and we're going to spend some actual real time there. And we're not taking students. We're just going to go back to some of the places that we traveled to and looked at, and not take kids with us.
Lunchtime?
Yeah, breakfast.
Oh, breakfast time.
Breakfast time. It's afternoon. It's breakfast time.
Oh, funny. Okay, so I finished the socks I was working on. I don't think I had even worked on them last time, but you've seen them a couple times maybe. So these are my A-frame socks. The pattern is by Morgan of ShopKnittingNellie, and the yarn is, Glimmer sock yarn from Teeny Button Studios in the Merry and Bright sock set. So this was a Christmas yarn of hers, and
that came in and out of your stash really fast.
See, that's the thing is like, okay, this came, I love it. I can't stop thinking about it. I cast it on, I knit it, I loved every second. Okay, so why do I let things sit in my stash until I don't even care for them as much anymore? You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
So I think these socks were part of the tipping point of you're actually the only person standing in your way and you can actually do whatever you want.
Any tips for getting Beth out of her head? Leave them below.
Please. So far, medication has been helpful. That's new. There you go, internet. Woo!
Oh, we need to normalize that anyway. Put that out there.
We do. Yep. Yep. So really, though, okay, we're going to be real about the medication. I struggled with postpartum stuff. With my first baby, didn't really know that's what was happening because you go from like complete freedom to like 24/7 in charge of an infant. A really, really difficult infant is like big learning curve. So it wasn't like that bad. It was like normal postpartum stuff probably. Okay. The second one, it was horrible. Horrible. Like, I will never speak out loud the things that were in my head because I don't even want people to know. It was horrible. So then I spent the first year of Lulu's life trying to talk myself and my husband out of wanting more children because I'm like, nope, 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 nope. And I didn't realize that's what I was doing, but that is what I was doing. So then this time, over enough time, like I felt normal again, like normal for me, which probably should have been medicated anyway, but we'll get to that. So I don't know why I'm telling you all this, but here we go. Okay, so then before trying for baby 3, I told Matt and I told a couple of close friends and I told my doctor, I'm like, hey, here's what happened. If this happens again, I'm not going to tell you because I've already done it before. But if I tell you now and people are looking out for these things and helping me and knowing that I'm not actually losing my mind, then like I can do this. So the pregnancy was different. Delivery was different. Like everything was really, really good. And I'm like, yes, it's not going to happen this time. And then it did. And I told my husband, I was like, I think I should probably talk to the doctor. And he's like, yeah, I noticed this, this, and this. And I'm like, okay, cool. And the next day I started on medication. And now I'm like, oh, this is helping me with things that I didn't even know were anxiety from like my entire life. So
interesting.
I take anti-anxiety, antidepressant medication now, and it's my new favorite thing.
And if you are struggling, don't be ashamed to ask for help. When she says, oh no, I'm telling you this, she means you. I know this story. She's telling you so that you know to ask for help.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And like, ugh. And I looking back, I'm like, why I didn't want to need medication. I wanted to just be able to, like, I'm an intelligent person. I'm a strong person. Why can't I just fix, like, I should be able to do this. I should be able to handle this. I should be able to control the way I feel. Okay, well, yeah, now I can do all of that because
you have what you need chemically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, didn't know we were going there today, but we did.
Well, it's important to visit there sometimes.
Yeah. Yep.
So knitting and mental health podcast.
Well, and knitting is mental health. I mean,
it's true.
For me, it's like, man. And that's the thing too, is like, I got to a point where I didn't even want to knit. Well, you know, something's wrong then.
Definitely.
I just got a text. Are you making it up for dinner? I don't know. Still podcasting.
Oh, is dinner lunch there? Lunch is dinner?
Well, see, there's a thing about that. I don't know if it's an all over, it's like a Midwest farm thing. So when me growing up, it was breakfast, dinner, supper.
Mm-hmm. Me too. I think it's a farm thing because I grew up, with farmers. That's probably what it is.
Now that we're regular folk, it's like breakfast, lunch, and then when people say dinner, I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So I still call it supper. But apparently today we are farm folk. I mean, we do live on a farm, but we don't farm. Anyway, oh my gosh. Pew, 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 pew. Tracy's
Meanwhile, I'm just watching Hope make hot dogs.
You should tell that hot dog story now. I'm just kidding.
No. You guys are so lucky that we were talking about children who were sick to their stomach. before we hit record. You don't have to hear any of that.
Yeah, if you ever wondered what we talk about before we hit record, it's just
not that exciting.
No. Yep. Okay, we'll stop there.
Ooh.
So I have been obsessed. Oh, look how pretty it is.
Gorgeous.
With Aspen's temperature tracker crochet blanket. So it's not huge. It's just going to be like kind of a throw size. I've even questioned like, is this big enough? But I think it is. It'll just be like the couch blanket. And right now it's so cohesive, but the warmer temperatures are going to be more like solid pinks and then orange. And I'm just thinking, ooh, I hope the orange isn't too much.
We'll find out soon because you're making a lot of progress.
So I have like a bigger basket, like a big oval one of this style. Mm-hmm. And all of my yarns were in there for like the current month or whatever. So I wouldn't have to constantly
You got that for your birthday from Aspen.
Yeah. Oh God. Did I?
I heard it, but they have not.
Oh, do you want to hear my Aspen story? Of course you do. If you don't, I guess you can just boop, boop, move along.
That's going to be at the front of the next episode.
No! Michael! I guess, beggars can't be choosers if we're not going to edit it ourselves. Do whatever you want. Okay. So this was really in the heat of like, I had just started this. I was just that like happy honeymoon phase where you're like, this is the best project ever. And oh my gosh, I love it so much. And it's just making me so happy. So I went to, kids were in bed. I was all getting ready for cozy evening time, my crafty time. And I went to get my basket that had my crochet blanket in it. I don't have it here, but it's big. It's like this tall and like that big around at the top. Like it is a big basket. And it wasn't by the couch where I left it. So I'm like, oh, well, Matt or the kids must have put it away because sometimes the girls get into my stuff and then, everything gets strewn around the house, and couldn't find it in any of the usual places. And we're like looking, because it was starting to be like, where is it? Like, I can't, it's lost. How do you lose something this big? And I went into Ronan's room with my phone as a flashlight, and I'm looking around like, did they put it in here? I'm looking in his closet. No. Okay. I go in the girls' room. Lulu was still awake, and I'm like, uh-oh, so ruined her whole thing, and she's all upset. And I'm like looking around. I'm like, Lulu, have you seen my crochet? And she's like, no, Mom, I haven't, but I'll look for it. I'm like, no.
Well, did you know you asked the wrong kid?
Aspen was already asleep, the only person who actually could have helped me solve this problem. And couldn't find it anywhere. So I was so frustrated with it. I tried to knit on these socks. I was like, I'm going to bed. I was so frustrated because I'm like, I've been looking forward to this all day. So I just went to bed. And then the next morning, the girls woke up and I said, Aspen, have you seen my crochet? And she goes, oh, yeah, I have a happy birthday present for you. What? She had put the entire basket into this like Minnie Mouse suitcase, like a rolling hard-sided suitcase, and put it inside of her little Cabbage Patch doll pack and play thing. And yep, it was in there so that she could surprise me.
Surprise!
So I've been very careful with where I put it since then.
I can imagine.
Yes. So I don't have it in the basket anymore because I was getting annoyed with constantly having to dig to the bottom for the color I needed. And so now I have it in this little
that's cute
tray thing. Look how pretty.
Wow.
These are all of the colors I've used so far and all that I'll probably need for about this same amount of progress. And then it will move into these first.
They're pinky oranges. I think they're
There's
fine.
pink in There's pink in all of them, except there's one that's like a solid, or I guess it's a tonal, but it's completely
It'll blend well by then, I think.
You think so?
I think so. I
And
hope I'm not wrong.
The really hot days get to more pinks and then like dark purples. And then the really cold days, because we haven't gotten to those yet, because this goes from middle of February 2016 through the middle of February 2017. The really cold days get these like fun dark blues and purples.
Nice. When do you get your coldest days?
Usually it's like, actually usually it's February, but looking at that year with my nerdy, beautiful, magical rainbow spreadsheet, it was in January. And even the coldest day was in December. That's weird. Usually it's like end of January, February. Like I think the upcoming this week, some of our highs are negative temperatures. So those will be very cold days. Yeah. Like sometimes we have school canceled because it's so cold.
Interesting. We've never had it too cold to cancel school. We've had to delay it just because we can't have kids waiting for the bus without a coat. Because we don't have coats. We don't have coats. We don't have snow tires. We don't have all the things that we need. But for our 6 days of cold weather that we get.
And part of the deal with the cold days is if it gets too cold, the buses run on diesel fuel and it will gel up and not work. Ooh. So I think that has always been a contributing factor. Is that all I have to show you? I mean, this is a lot though. Like this takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Do you have a Ravelry page for it?
Sorry, what?
Do you have a Ravelry page? Because I might want to make one that size if I ever learn to do this.
I've been garbage at Ravelry for like the last, I don't know how many years. Like I used to be so good. And I had the notes and the yarn and how much I used, and I haven't been good about that. But I do know how many stitches I've cast on.
I might have to ask someday.
Okay.
And she can let you know if you need to. If you're planning on making one that size, let us know.
This was 200 stitches. I think you're supposed to do a multiple of, no, a multiple of something plus something. This is exactly what the Attic 24 blog post, this is the exact number.
Okay.
And I don't know, I don't think they use fingering weight yarn, but all of this is fingering weight yarn. So if you were to do this with worsted weight yarn, obviously it would be a lot bigger.
Oh, it's so pretty. So pretty.
You could wear it as a scarf now.
You could.
Every day Aspen is like, did you work on my blanket? And I say, yes. And she comes over and she's like, oh, it's so soft. And then she says, are you going to finish it today? And I'm like, no. I wish I could. I just love it.
Nice. Oh, I forgot to show my finished object. I did finish my socks, which is why I didn't have any Zoom knitting. Yes, I was on the cuff. They're so pretty. They're so pretty. Don't look at my fingernails. We've been painting. My hands are a mess. Yeah. This is Fibernymph Dyeworks, and I love how her colors. I mean, when you look at the skein, you're like, oh, that's nice. But then when you see it all knit up, whoa, how did she get that saturated color, the tonals, and the stripe? It's gorgeous. So this is the Life Goals colorway on the bounce base. And I think they might be my mom's birthday socks. I haven't decided yet. I think so. Because it's coming up in less than 2 weeks, and I have to make a decision soon.
And you do Fish Lips Kiss heels?
Oh, these are the Susan B. Anderson Smooth Operator afterthought heel. Yeah, I usually do the Fish Lips Kiss, but for stripes, I like to keep the stripes going, especially if it's more than one color. I mean, if it's 2 colors or more than 2 colors, that's what I'm trying to say. It's more than 2 colors. I'll still do the Fish Lips Kiss with 2 colors because I don't think it interrupts the stripes too much, but then once you get 3 or 4 colors, it can be weird. So I'll just do some waste yarn in there. Sometimes I'll just chop I get going. I use waist yarn this time.
I saw that Bunnyfish Heather has a pattern test call out for a different afterthought heel for a bigger, deeper instep. And I was like, oh, that's me. And I don't want to do I don't want rules, so I'm not committing to things because I've done test knitting and stuff. And I'm like, oh, more rules. Stop with the rules. But when she comes out with that, I'm going to be all over it because that is my problem with the Fish Lips Kiss heel. Even if I put in extra stitches, it still just doesn't quite work for me. So excited for that.
Meanwhile, my foot is so dainty that I have to. So if I have 60 stitches when I'm doing my Fish Lips Kiss heel, I'll do it across 28 instead of 30. I have a really shallow heel.
Lucky.
I had no idea. Also a little bit flat-footed. I don't know if that helps too.
Our podcast is so interesting.
Yeah, you learn so much that you never wanted to know about anything in the world. I think that's, and I'm knitting a vanilla sock for Michael now. So I'm trying to try to use up some of my hand spun every year. I made this a goal last year to get at least 3 skeins of my own hand spun knit out of the stash and not just give it to somebody.
I disagree with that completely. I think you should just give it
I'm still giving, so I want to get 6 skeins out a year. If I'm bringing in, so I'm trying to spend at least 6 new skeins a year. So I need to get 6 skeins out, and I'm really behind on like breaking even because it's gotten cluttered up over the years. So if I knit 3 and give away at least 3, then I'm breaking even, right? Well, theoretically. But so this is really awesome yarn. This is from Spartickes Dyeworks. I told her we needed a Phineas and Ferb colorway. So this one is Isabella loves Phineas. And it was on a faux cashmere base, which is basically really soft nylon. So I spun it up and then spun up some gray cashmere and then applied them together. So this is some really luxurious and soft yarn. So,
I didn't even know she did fiber.
Yeah, she did for a while.
I guess I didn't really pay attention to that until recently.
Yeah, wasn't on your wavelength. Yeah, I miss Mary Gail. Every now and again she'll pop up on Instagram with a friend's colorway or something, but she's been dying for living in a while. She's back in teaching now. I think that's right. Let me put everybody's personal business on the internet. Pretty sure she's teaching again.
I think she is too. I think that's true.
I think that's it for me. That's all I have. Oh no, wait, I have a new skein of yarn because I won a knit along.
What?
I did so long ago, I forgot about. When the Harry Potter Knits book came out, the Tannis Gray book came out, oh my gosh, I haven't listened to a podcast in so long that I'm beginning to blank. But Knitting Daddy has a podcast, and I know Greg from all of the places because he lives an hour west of me, and now he's podcasting with a woman who lives an hour east of me. So I'm like right in the middle of these two people. So I see before COVID, I saw them everywhere. It was every Fire Fest I went to, I saw at least one or the other. So yeah, when that book came out, I knit a few things out of it and had a lot of fun with it, and then put it aside because I got into my huff with. Not a huff. I got into my disagreement about fundamental things with J.K. Rowling, and I haven't really thought much about it again. And then he sent me a message the other day saying I had won, and I completely forgot that the knit along was a thing. So I haven't been listening to audio podcasts because those are for the car, and I don't go anywhere. So I'm so behind on my audio podcasts. But he sent me a Knit Crate box, and it had this beautiful skein of Kickaboo sock yarn in it.
That is a very Tracy color.
Love it. And it's the Utopia base, and the name of the color is Swallowtail. So actually having a swallow on my arm, I thought, well, that's pretty cool. So I really like it. Really like it a lot. So thank you, Greg and Pam. And I'm sorry that I didn't hear the episode because it's really bad at listening to podcasts right now. But that was fun. That was a really good surprise. Oh, just kicked my table. Sorry, everybody, don't be sick. That was a really nice surprise, though, to get something new. Right. Anything else for the good of the internet?
We have the Copy Cat KAL happening.
We do.
So
feel free to copy anything you've seen us working on. Feel free to copy our awesome cardigans. How cute we are. Or anyone else that you have seen knitting something that you absolutely love and feel inspired by. And that's the rules, right? That's it.
Yeah.
Copy something that you're inspired by. Yeah.
Until the end of March.
I have 2 more ideas for my copycat knit along. I'm thinking of knitting the the Bernie sweater, except I don't have any brown yarn left, so I'm gonna have to make it in different colors. I have a lot of blue. I might be copying Bernie's mittens, but in blue. I apologize if you're my Instagram friend and you were not as tickled over the Bernie memes as me, because I went crazy for a whole week. It was so much fun.
So you know how I've been like shopping too much, like just clicking too much, and then I had really kind of gotten pretty good for a little bit there. And then I got this notification yesterday that something is shipping, your Etsy order has shipped, or your something, and I'm like, what did I? Yep, I ordered us each a set of Bernie stitch markers.
Now I have to copycat the Bernie mittens to make the Bernie sweater.
You're gonna have the stitch markers.
I'm gonna have to. That's a good excuse. Oh, and then I've also been inspired by travel a lot, as you saw with my travel bag. And there is a cardigan that came out for Knit Barcelona, which was the week after I was in Barcelona. I got to go to Barcelona on a training trip before I took my kids on our England trip for a long weekend. And I remember thinking, what kind of person am I? I'm taking a long weekend in Barcelona. Who is this? I missed that Fire Festival by a week. But there was a cardigan for that called the Gaudi Cardi that was inspired by Anton Gaudi's architecture. And I'm thinking of making that also to copy some of the colors and some of the architecture that was so inspiring. That might be playing fast and loose with the rules, but I'm not eligible for prizes, so that's okay.
Or are you?
I don't think so.
Wow. You were in the spreadsheet last time.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. Did you put yourself in the spreadsheet? So I could buy you a prize?
No.
Well, that's not fair then.
I can't even remember what the last one was. Did I finish anything?
Christmas color work, you had to finish something.
I'm not sure that I put a finishing post. I'm the worst.
Make sure you put a finishing post for your Copy Cat KAL, because you copied Stephanie, because we love to copy Stephanie's, and made your hipster shawl.
Yeah. It's still right here from the last time we podcasted. I have not blocked it. I seem to kind of have like a color scheme theme happening. I feel like I'm channeling my Tracy.
I think you are.
My blues, my greens, with little pops of pink.
I approve. All right, so enter our contest and let us know if you have questions or comments. We would love to get your comments. And I'm going to start squinting at the bottom of the computer to find the end record button. Yep, that's what I'm going to do.
I just don't want you to feel alone.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Okay, I've had it. So until next time, enjoy your knitting.
Bye.
Bye.
Can subscribe. Yay, subscribe. Did you hold the button?